When we first went to market around seniors living, it was quite interesting because all the parties that we talked to all wanted to develop at level, right? And they were very much one-storey developments at level, and that's very expensive in the context of land. But it also is something that doesn't suit within a high-density development that Health City was going to be.
My health's fantastic. Nearly 3 years ago, I decided to opt for a vegan diet and vegan lifestyle, and for me it's worked wonderfully well. I appreciate that it may not be for everyone, but certainly for me, from a health point of view, it's been brilliant.
Don, I came here 9 years ago, so I came here to work with Springfield Land Corporation at the time to create, to significantly look at the university and the university development down here in Education City. At a policy level, education and health are very, very similar in dealing and discussing with local councils, with state government and with federal government. So it was a natural progression for me to work out of Education City and then also focus on Health City. Because I'd been a journeyman in education up to this stage of my career, it was really pleasant to actually go and apply policy thinking and strategic thinking to the area of health. So it's been blood, sweat and tears, but it's been most enjoyable and a great group of partners in working with MARTA, in working with the VAO, Multiple Sclerosis Queensland. We've just developed 18 residential units for them under the NDIS scheme. Quest Service Departments has just moved in to the development so we can help people stay close to the hospital while they're receiving their cancer care services. So in the master plan, Springfield is 6 suburbs. There are 5 residential suburbs that surround a central CBD. The CBD is over 390 hectares, far larger than Brisbane CBD. And then within that CBD there are the precincts themselves. So Health City precinct was there from day one, was established that's where health would go, and the health, education and ideas precincts were established to be the economic drivers for this city going forward. The MARTA at the moment is on 1 hectare of what will be 10 hectares in the middle here. Aveo is on about 2 hectares of what will be 10 hectares that brings it right over here to this sign. So this whole ridge line will be future development, will be future high-rise development. You can see, Don, from where that's established, the views that it gets over the whole of Springfield, right through to Brookwater Golf Course on the far end, and over the CBD. So because it's a greenfield master plan design, what you actually get is Aveo. If you come out of Aveo and go downhill, you go from a seniors living precinct. St Peter's Lutheran College is to its left over there, so a lot of school involvement with both the hospital and the seniors living precinct. But come down the hill, you have health services right on the doorstep for our seniors. You go across Sinnathamby Boulevard and you arrive at Education City, so you get education services for seniors living. You go from there through to Rebel Domain, which is the central green lungs of the development, and that's the main recreation area with the South Bank style pool, and you go beyond that area and you're in Orion Shopping Centre. You go through Orion and you arrive at the railhead that gives you transport. So in effect, on a straight line that is 1.8 kilometres, a 25 metre wide pedestrian access connects you from seniors living to health, to education, to recreation, through to transport, and also the shopping complex within the middle of that. So very, very unique.
My health's fantastic. Nearly 3 years ago, I decided to opt for a vegan diet and vegan lifestyle, and for me, it's worked wonderfully well. I appreciate that it may not be for everyone, but certainly for me, from a health point of view, it's been brilliant, and certainly from a compassion point of view, it's a big reason why I've gone down that path. I think as you go along, you learn what good things to put into your body. I mean, you're preparing to play elite level sport. You know, what you put in your body is fuel, and you need to make sure you make good choices. There are obviously going to be times when, you know, you splurge on food that may not be as good for you as you like, but I think you minimise those times, you maximise the good stuff that you put in. I think that's really important. I think as you go along, you learn what the good stuff is and what maybe isn't so good. And you know, that was certainly my journey. When I was a young guy, I probably didn't think too much of it. But I think as you go along and you get more information, you're given that information from people who know what they're talking about, and that encourages you to make informed choices about what you put in your mouth. Yeah, I think it's just always evolving, and I think it's always getting better. Certainly when I started, probably not so much. I remember my first state game. I walked into the South Australian dressing room with a fast food packet, breakfast packet, and the captain, Jamie Siddons, looked at me and just looked at the packet, and he had a few choice words, but they basically said, "Don't ever bring that stuff into my dressing room again." And I learnt a very quick lesson then, and it went from there, and sort of probably learnt and made better choices as I went along in my career. Went through a phase where I would only eat omelettes on tour. My palate probably wasn't as diverse as it is now, and I probably didn't know as much about nutrition. I knew when I went to places like India, I was so concerned about getting ill and not being able to do my job, so I stuck to things I knew. Whether it was right or wrong, I mean, it probably wasn't the right approach, but what I know now, certainly if I was back then, I'd make different choices. But certainly you learn as you go along, and I think that's probably the message saying today is you always be open to suggestions and learn, and get as much information as you can so you can make good choices. If I'm asked why I'm a vegan, and or they want to ask any questions about it, I'm happy to share that. But I don't think people like information being thrown down their throats, especially if they don't really want that information. So I'm very much, if lads ask me, I'm happy to have a conversation and discuss it and ask why I've gone down this path, but I certainly don't look to ram it down people's throats. Again, just make good choices, do your research, always take the healthy option. If you're finding yourself on tour and it's hard to find a good meal, try and make the best choice you possibly can. I think that's probably the message I would pass on.
So after I became fully qualified Body Attack Group Fitness instructor, I began taking classes at Good Life Health Clubs, and just seeing the improvements in people's fitness, seeing the improvements in my self-confidence, I just feel like that it was at a good time in my life, and I needed that to start feeling good about myself again. While I also studied Bachelor of Health, Sport and Physical Education at uni, Body Attack was my hobby on the side. So my professional career, I studied health, sport and PE at the University of Queensland for 4.5 years. Even though that wasn't my first choice was exercise and sports science, and I completed 1 year of that university degree. But I then found that I didn't love it, and I really wanted to make a difference in people's lives and contribute positively to society. So I made the switch to become a HPE teacher, and when I began going on pracs within the high schools, I knew that that's where I was meant to be. I love working with high school students because this is the time where they need positive influences in their life, and if I can even contribute positively to one child's life, I just feel like you just can't beat that. So At the moment, I'm a fully qualified high school teacher and I do my group fitness things on the side, and I love it. But throughout the start of this year, unfortunately, I hit a really, really rough patch within my life, and it was multiple things that had built up over time. So it first stemmed from, I had body image issues. I was bullied from high school, and I really didn't think that at 24 years old, I really didn't think that being bullied in high school was going to affect me, but it did. And then after I graduated from high school, my parents decided to split up, which did take a big toll on our family, my mental health, my siblings' mental health. And I think there's a big perception around it's easier when you're an adult, if something like that in your life happens, that you know how to cope with it and it's not really going to affect you. But it did affect me, and it did affect my siblings as well. So that was another contributing factor. I was also in a lot of kind of toxic, negative relationships was another contributing factor. And all of these little things just built up over time, and it kind of all just came to a peak, and I began to hate everything that I once enjoyed. So I loved going to the gym. I then hated it. I didn't go to the gym for a good solid 1 month. I hated going to my job. I lost the passion that I had, and I didn't feel like that I was contributing to society how I once thought that I was. And I was in a pretty dark place. I just used to go to work. I felt like a zombie. My body and I was present, but my mind was elsewhere. I just felt I was in a really dark place, and the only way that I can describe it, and I'm sure other people have felt this way, and I know a lot of people feel this way because there's a lot of things that go on in society that trigger these types of emotions and these feelings, and it is a really tough time, and I don't wish anyone to be feeling the way that I did. And there was an image that I found on Google, and it was pretty much that there was a hole and there was a person sitting at the bottom of it, and then there was a ladder, but the ladder was actually broken, so it felt like that you could not quite get out of the place that you were in. And at a point in time I hate reflecting on it because I just didn't want to be here anymore, because I just felt like, I don't know, I wasn't contributing to society, I wasn't myself, and I just couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess. And yeah, but I used to go home after work, I just used to lie in my bed. I know my mother, she thought that she'd failed as a parent, and that was really hard to hear because it wasn't her doing at all. And I know that I needed to get help because I couldn't get out of this place by myself. So I ended up going to Yulibarri Bar, the Capalaba clinic, and I ended up getting a psychologist test. They asked me like 50 questions, and it was really hard. I was just really honest because I just needed something. I just like anything, just somebody help me and get me out of this place. And all the results came back after my answers to the questions, and then I was kind of just sitting there and the doctor's looking over the questions, and then he just said, I'm diagnosing you with severe depression. And it feels like it was like 8 months ago now, but it feels like it was just yesterday because I just remember the feeling so well. And I just kind of felt like a bit of a failure because, gosh, I'm a high school teacher. I'm meant to be contributing to students' lives. I'm meant to be uplifting. I'm a group fitness instructor. How am I going to motivate people if I'm not motivated myself? And I just felt like I kind of failed in a sense, and I'm just kind of, what am I doing? I can't get diagnosed with severe depression, and it's just something that I just didn't think I would ever be diagnosed with or I'd ever experience in my life. But like I said before, it's so common these days, and you would be so surprised at how many people are diagnosed with a mental health issue. And there's so much stigma around, oh, mental health, and let's not touch that topic, because it is a touchy topic, because severe depression kind of snowballs on to leading to bigger things such as suicide. And I can definitely say that I was at that point, and it pains me to say this, and I'm so glad that I was able to get through it. And I hope that this story and me speaking up about my experiences helps other people to know that it's not shameful if you're diagnosed with a mental health issue, just to know that there is help and support out there. I was on medication for 6 months. The doctor said you be on the medication for 6 months, and I was just so embarrassed, like I'm medicated. I need to take this medication once a night. But looking at it now, I just think it was a positive thing. I needed that medication to help my chemical imbalance within my brain, and the feelings and emotions that I started feeling, and I was getting so overwhelmed. I needed that because I just needed something to get me out of the dark place that I was in. And after having that for 6 months, I dealt with a lot of things. I got rid of my toxic relationships. I started to come out of that. I started to have discussions with my family members that I'd fallen out with, in particularly my father, and I started to build those bridges again, because life's really too short to hold on to grudges, negative emotions, and hate and resentment, because at the end of the day, I feel like that was eating me up more, holding on to all those negative feelings, than it was impacting anyone else.